Welcome back into Sports Blitz Live. Our gaggle of guests continue. We had Coach Jarris McIntyre from Tampa Catholic, former Auburn player, on just a minute ago. Had Drew Darmond from 97.7 in Huntsville talking ball, and had him on just a second ago. Now we got Jimmy Stein on. He just keeps on rolling. Jimmy, how you doing tonight?
Good, Luke. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. First and foremost, I want you to tell everybody about your new endeavor. You start a new program of your own tomorrow on WNSP down in Mobile.
That's right. Following in your footsteps. Now I'm gonna be a host myself on a show called Inside the Tide, WNSP 105.5 in Mobile. Co-host Austin Henson, who's a former Alabama golfer, and Austin and I will have a show every Wednesday at 7 to just discuss everything going on with Alabama football and Alabama football recruiting, and hopefully the show will go year-round, and we'll cover all the sports year-round. But obviously this time of the year, the focus will be on football and to some extent on football recruiting.
Is it going to be a caller-driven show, or are you guys going to have guests, or how's that going to work?
Actually, no. The initial format plan that Austin and I and the folks at WNSP have come up with is that initially we won't be taking callers. However, WNSP has an app, and people that have downloaded the app can send questions or comments to the app while we're on the air, and we can address questions that way. But we'll have a guest each week, too. Aaron Suttles from the Tuscaloosa News and TideSports.com will be our first guest, and we plan to have one guest every week that's close to the program and can report on what they know week to week throughout the season.
Very cool. Are you guys going to set up a Twitter account or anything, or maybe a Facebook page so people can follow along?
Yeah, there will be a Facebook page, and Inside the Tide Facebook page should be out probably just in the next few days. Inside the Tide Facebook, and of course, anyone that would like to can follow me on Twitter, same Twitter account at LJSLaw.
How is Inside the Tide, that name not taken before? How is that possible? That sounds so, that rolls off the tongue so nicely. It rhymes and everything. How is that not taken?
In typical LJSLaw fashion, I don't even think I was present when it was came up. Somebody just says, how's Inside the Tide? I guess, all right.
You know, Jimmy, I think that way back when, before we started our podcast at Talking Tuscaloosa, that Inside the Tide was one of the names we thought of, and we ended up going with Talking Tuscaloosa. Now, that just hit me. Did you rip us off?
I'm not ripping my own self off. I have a copyright infringement case against myself. Thankfully, I'm judgment proof.
Yeah, and you're a lawyer, so you can get rich both ways with it. I like it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. Alabama had a big week this past week. Big week in terms of quantity. In terms of quality star-wise, I think some fans may have been a little let down. However, I think the coaching staff targeted some guys that aren't necessarily high up on the rankings in terms of 24/7 or ESPN, but a kid like Hunter Brandon out of Coleman, for instance, this is somebody the staff targeted and absolutely loved, and they offered him on the spot at camp.
Well, the camp offer, one thing about that is it's hard to get a better evaluation tool than the kid working out for you directly under your nose in camp. I believe he'd attended camp several times, and not just this season, so they knew him well, and they decided he was the guy they wanted. Coaches are serious when they say they don't really recruit by the star system, whether it's on Rivals or Scout or 24/7. They make their own evaluations, and then that's the guy they wanted. I think any Alabama fan by this point should fully realize that Alabama's pretty good at getting who they want. They just decided this is the kid they want, and Coach Saban is usually right about this stuff. I think another kid that fits the description that you're talking about, Luke, is Kedrick James, a tight end from Waco, Texas. He's not rated super highly himself by the services, but Alabama runs a unique offense in this day and age. Alabama doesn't spread it out and throw it east and west 40, 50 times a game. Alabama likes to run the football. They like to pound it between the tackles, and they like to run outside the tackles. And to do that effectively, you need a tight end playing the wide position who can really seal off that edge and get it blocked like Michael Williams did so many years for Alabama under Nick. And so they went and got this tight end, and Texas is just a good fit in their offense. and it didn't matter to them whether he was 5 stars, 8 stars, or 2 stars.
Well, a guy that we feel like is very highly recruited and does have a lot of stars is Jerry Jeudy, the wide receiver out of the Miami area. He's following in the footsteps of Amari Cooper and Calvin Ridley, and I absolutely love this guy's highlight tape. You said it on the podcast earlier. His whole tape is a highlight tape. I mean, sometimes you get a highlight tape and you just see a kid blocking or doing something kind of nondescript. This guy is a work of art when it comes to catching the football.
Truly amazing every now and then. The Nick Saban era has just been unbelievable for Alabama fans, and really every now and then you just take a step back and look at things. Who would have thought, going back to 2003 or even 2001 or 1995 or 96, who would have thought that Alabama would completely dominate the wide receiver market in South Florida?
Amazing.
I mean, for years. That's crazy, isn't it? Amari, Calvin, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, these kids for years, for decades, they were Miami Hurricanes. Sometimes they were Florida State Seminoles. But now, if you're a fantastic wide receiver prospect in South Florida, Alabama's probably number 1 on your list. That's just crazy.
Yeah, it really is. And but it's a very exciting time, because if Jerry Jeudy is half as good as Calvin Ridley or Amari Cooper, I think Alabama fans would be very excited. Quarterback, everybody's talking about it. Where do you think it ultimately ends up? Not necessarily with USC, but let's say game 6 or 7 of the season.
Well, I think Alabama fans ought to hope. I think the real nightmare, Luke, is that it's not settled by game 5, 6, and 7. That's the real nightmare. I don't think the nightmare is it's this guy or that guy. The real nightmare is there's no one, because no one has stepped up and no one has played well in the games. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just saying, gosh, that's sort of the nightmare scenario. I think what's going to happen is, I think camp begins Thursday. In the first week or so, they're likely to identify the challenger to Cooper Bateman. I think Cooper sort of won something in the spring. I think Cooper won the favorite's role, and someone's going to have to beat Cooper out. I think they'll take a long look at Blake Barnett and Jalen Hurts in particular, and determine which one of them is more game ready. Who's ready to play in a game, Blake or Jalen? And the winner of that takes on Cooper. Now that's really my thinking and not the staff's thinking, but I believe that's the way it's going to play out. And then once the USC game rolls around, the question is, has Cooper separated himself from the challenger and he's just the quarterback against USC, or are they going to have to take a look at 2 guys in the USC game, Cooper and the challenger, be it Jalen or Blake? I think Cornwell is the guy that right now is sort of a distant fourth.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I saw earlier on the SEC network where Alabama's wide receiving core was ranked number 1 in the conference, and some people think it's number 1 in the country. But none of that's going to matter if they don't have somebody that can get the ball to them, right?
That's right. Well, it all starts at quarterback, and that's just it's the one position on the field where to win big, maybe you don't have to be great, but you can't be bad. You can't be bad and win at quarterback. It doesn't matter what the rest of doesn't matter if you can run the ball, play defense. You can't be bad at quarterback and win a lot of games. And I think to some extent fans underrate the game manager types, the guys that maybe they're not putting the team on their shoulders and winning the game on their right arms, but they keep the car between the ditches, and not every guy can do that. So hopefully one will emerge, and I think odds are Cooper Bateman starts the USC game, but we got 4 weeks of camp to figure all that out.
Back to recruiting one quick time. Jacoby Stevens, a safety prospect out of Tennessee. He's going to be deciding soon. Most people think it's Alabama or LSU with the Tigers holding the edge. What do you think?
Probably say LSU over Alabama, but I am not super confident about that. I say it's more like the way I feel is maybe 55% chance LSU, 45% Alabama. I think this might be tighter than those just assuming he's signing with LSU, but he grew up in Louisiana, and has been projected to sign with LSU really from the beginning and very circles, even though at one point he was even committed to LSU, I believe, at one point. So LSU, but this is tight. This could really go his way.
Well, Jimmy, thanks so much for being on with us. We cut a podcast earlier today, and hopefully that'll be out tomorrow. And then, of course, your big debut tomorrow night on WNSP. Good luck, buddy.
Thank you so much, Luke. Thanks.
Jimmy Stein from Inside the Tide. It'll be starting tomorrow on 105.5 FM out of Mobile. It's one of the more famous stations in the state of Alabama, all sports all the time. Thanks so much to Jimmy Stein for being on with us. Look forward to your show tomorrow, buddy. We will be back in just a minute with more Sports Blitz Live.